Good afternoon. This is Roger Thunder, or Wakia. Roger Wakia. Wakia meaning thunder in Lakota. I thought I'd talk a little bit about combining Hatha yoga and Kriya yoga, or Kundalini yoga. I touched on this before, but I think it's really relevant in these times to be as unified with the source as possible. So recently I've been getting back into intensifying, let's say, not getting back into, I've always done it, but I've been intensifying my Hatha yoga practices. Well, what's Hatha yoga? Hatha yoga is different positions, asanas. You put yourself into different positions, you stretch, you bend, you tense, release. It's not like a regular exercise, okay? I mean, a lot of people are in yoga classes. The typical yoga class, you go to the gym or the community center or something like that, and somebody has a yoga class, and you bring your mat, and you do the stretches. This is all well and good. This is great. Because even if you don't know what you're doing it. What do I mean by that? Well, when you do asanas, or postures, or spiritual postures, of course, it's a yoga. It's a union. It's a way to unify yourself with the source. And you can call that source whatever you want, but most people don't realize that when they do asanas, they're actually moving energy about their bodies. They're moving energy within, and they're channeling the source. These asanas are designed specifically for that. They're designed to open up the chakras. And you have 7 chakras on your body. Some people say 13. 7's good enough to start with. And I've talked about this before, but it's just kind of a review. It's incorporating other things that I've taught here concerning breathing and pranayama. And pranayama means movement of the energy through breath. Okay, it's a spiritual breathing. And I've touched on the fact that when you breathe in a spiritual form, or when you do conscious breathing, that means that you realize that you're not just breathing oxygen, but you're breathing in energy. It's a mechanism to move the energy. And that energy can come in many different places. It can come in through the medulla oblongata, which is at the base of your skull. Kind of like that hollow part where the spine connects with the base of your skull. There's an opening there, and then there's also the base chakra, like I say, and some people concentrate on the third eye, which is beneath. Well, it's actually probably just above the bridge of the nose, in between the eyebrows. So you have these energy centers that when you're doing Hatha yoga, you're actually opening those energy centers and allowing the flow of the prana, or the chi, which is the universal electricity, we'll use that term, the universal electricity of the universe. Well, that's kind of redundant. It's universal electricity. So when you go into different poses like the dog pose or the dog stance or the cat pose or the snake pose or the different poses, and there's so many poses and asanas that it's really hard to I couldn't sit here in a video and go through each one because there's hundreds. But you pick out the ones you like. So people go to a yoga class and they're in there and they're looking at it more like, when people do weightlifting or when they do different techniques to strengthen the muscles, tension and release. Well, there is a tension and release in Hatha yoga as well, but it's a whole different concept. And so what I'm going to do is impart to you at least my concept. There's breathing techniques involved. There's pranayama techniques. If you combine the pranayama techniques with the Hatha yoga, you're going to have exhilarating moments, let's put it that way. It's like a tantra. It is a form of embodying the goddess energy. You could say that too, because most yoga postures are lithesome. They're what's the word? Snake-like. They're yin. They're very yin. Because it's like a snake uncoiling and recoiling, and it's like an animal, let's say maybe a jaguar, stretching and getting into different positions. Now, I'm sure you've seen cats. Cats do yoga. Okay, they do it naturally. If you watch a cat, they'll go through all kinds of stretching, and they'll go into meditative states, and they just trance out. Cats do. So what am I trying to get at here? Well, as you're going through the poses, you want to embody that same kind of energy, that feel. It's not like a big jock going into the gym and lifting weights. That's not what it is at all. It has nothing to do with that. Now, having said that, your body can get incredibly toned. Your body can get incredibly lean and mean and lithesome. And if you wanted to compare a martial art to it, the first thing that comes to my mind is Tai Chi. It has the same kind of movement. It has the same kind of flow. It has the same kind of postures. A lot of the postures are the same. In fact, Tai Chi was patterned after animals. When they have terms like snake creeps down, okay, well then that's an indication that that particular movement has something to do with the observation of a snake. Or, let's say wave hands like clouds. That would be a bird-like motion, or the crane, or any number of things that the martial artists or the ancient ones that developed Tai Chi, they watched animals. And so yoga, I feel, is the same thing. Hatha yoga is the same thing. So I already talked about moving the energy up your spine through the Ida and the Pingala, moving it up and down through breathing techniques, keeping the tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth or in the soft palate, and that's called the jade pool. Or some people go to a real extreme and the tongue goes right up through the back of their throat to their nasal cavity. I don't suggest doing that unless you have proper instruction. What this does, though, is it creates a circuit in your body. It connects a circuit. And that circuit is where the prana or the chi or the energy flows. Now, sometimes you can do a Kundalini type breathing that is up your spine and, up your do channel, do channel, which is in the back, and then up through the top, down through the Ren channel, through the front of your body, and it comes down through the throat and heart and navel and base chakra where the genitals are. And it circulates. It goes back through the tailbone and then up through the spine and then up over the head and then down. And that's called circulation of the microcosmic orbit. That's a Taoist meditation. Now, a pure Kundalini or a pure Kriya emphasizes the Ida and the Pingala, or the nerves that are in the spine, and sending energy up and down the spine, cool energy and warm energy in succession. So when you are aware of these kind of pranayama techniques or pranayama breathing and mantras, well, then you are kind of home free, baby. If you get on the mat and you're doing yoga and you're doing stretches, embody that lithesome energy, embody that snake type energy, embody that flexible, that's the word I'm looking for. Flexible energy. And this energy is something that is nourishing. It's nourishing because what are you doing? Well, you're connecting with the creative force of the universe. You're creating with the Shiva, Shakti element. Shakti is the energy that you mostly would probably be embodying because Shakti is movement. Shakti is Shiva's movement, Shiva's consort. So most likely you would be embodying that type of energy, the Shakti energy within, okay? And it's in the universe as well. Now when you're doing these exercises, you are doing the breathing with the exercises. And yes, a lot of these young women that are doing yoga videos, and I love watching them, love the goddess energy, love watching how they have gotten their bodies into excellent shape, tuning up the vehicle, I call it, by just simply doing the asanas, and they may not even know about the pranayama, although at some point I think that it has to be revealed to them in a spontaneous way. It is said that when you practice different forms of pranayama or yoga, or let's say you reach a certain point or you do a breakthrough, there's been stories of people going into asanas, spontaneous asanas, just falling on the floor, going into the snake or the whatever position, the dog, the cow, just going through the different ones. And what's really nice is to get a flow going and start off, and it's also a very sensuous thing. It's a very primal, sensuous thing, Hatha yoga. But when you add the Kriya, when you're conscious of doing the Kriya breathing with the movements, and you kind of let spirit, you basically invite spirit or the creative force of the universe and the goddess energy. You invite it down to have fun with you, to play, to become as a completely free person. I won't say innocence because it's not quite innocence. It's realizing that you're allowing this energy of the universe to unify with you through a tantric motion. And I've talked about tantric motions, and I've talked about how you can use that tantric energy to contact the inner goddess and and do an alchemical thing where the goddess energy, the yin and the yang, unifies. Okay. So as you're doing your Hatha yoga, as you're doing the pranic breathing, as you're feeling this energy, you're also feeling the marriage of these two forces, the inner lovers. Okay, and it is very sensuous, and when you do Hatha yoga, you're actually moving in a kind of sensuous way. It's much better if you're more conscious of what you're doing. Now, stretching in yoga, in Hatha yoga, is just exhilarating. I mean, if you're doing it the right way, if you're doing it with the breathing and you're doing it with the concept that I'm talking about here, it's exhilarating. It's orgasmic. It can be orgasmic. It can be almost like a full body orgasm. It can be a full body orgasm because that energy is just pulsating and moving through the meridians and up and down the chakra chain and just, out the crown, and it's surrounding you, and you get into a trance-like experience. It's a very trance-like experience. You're in your body, but you're out of your body. And so sometimes I do believe that people probably go into yoga classes and they have no idea of really the concept that I'm talking about here. But yet that's what it's connected with. You cannot do Hatha yoga and not be connected to the yoga spirit in some minute way, even if you're totally unconscious about what you're doing. Just going through the asanas puts you there, okay? It will put you there. It's like a mudra. Do you know what a mudra is? Well, a mudra is a hand. This is a mudra, okay? You see that a lot in meditation. This is a hand position, okay? It's called a mudra. And then there's the prayer, and then there's all kinds of mudras that you can do that mean certain things, okay? That mean certain things and have been used for thousands of years and have much power. So when you do a mudra with your hands, when you can liken that to when you're doing Hatha yoga, you can liken that to doing a mudra with your body. And that mudra or that asana has powerful medicine, baby. And so when you go into the bridge, let's say you're laying on your back and you go into what they call the bridge, where you tuck your arms underneath your back and you're in an arch. Your shoulders are on the floor and your pelvis is arched up. When you do the bridge, you're opening the base chakra and the second chakra with the seed sounds of lam and bam. And when you do another position where your chest is more out and your hands are tucked back, you're arching your spine. You're being flexible. You're being like a snake, okay? And when you bend forward and breathe in the proper way, so if you breathe in the proper way as you're bringing the energy up through the Ida and the Pingala, or you're conscious that you're doing a circulation of the microcosmic orbit, it coincides with the moves, and pretty soon it will start moving you. It will start playing you. It's just like playing an instrument and getting out of your own way and letting the, let's say you're playing the Native American flute. The flute plays you, you don't play it. When you get to the point where it's above the, the mundane frequency, it plays you. The instrument plays you. So what you do is you got to let that same force that plays the instrument without you even knowing it play your physical being, your body. So if you get up in the morning, let's say, and you do a meditation, a Kriya meditation, or your normal meditation, watching your breath, whatever you do, it would be a good idea to start thinking about your next step or your next ritual. I call it a ritual. I do it every morning without fail, and I've been intensifying it lately because of the world situation, just what's going on, the tension that affects us all. And I'll go in and I'll do all my little yoga routines, while I'm breathing. I come out of the meditative state enough to get up, walk over to where I do my Hatha yoga, and lay down and just let it take me, okay? And I already know all the positions, so I move into them without even knowing where I'm going next. And I'll do as much breathing, and as many reps. There are some things where you lift your legs and you do the bicycle pump, and you do the candle, where you stand on one leg with one prop, your foot propped up against your thigh, your inner thigh, with your hands over your head like this. You do all kinds of these things, only you move from one to another, and you're breathing and you're moving and you're breathing and you're moving, and pretty soon you're not doing anything, you're just flowing. You're just going with the flow. And and this creative force is like I'll say it inhabits, okay? It inhabits the physical organism and the being, and it knows what's best for you and which way for you to move, and it'll actually be your teacher. You ask it to be your teacher. You ask it to be your yogini or your yogi. Doesn't matter, either one, or you can have both. You are ultimately your own guru. There is no guru outside of you. You can go to a lineage, or you can learn a certain way, and you can accept a certain path. You can accept a guru, whether it's Paramahansa or any of the other multitude of gurus. But I found out a long time ago, you're your own guru. Because the higher self is your guru, the Purusha, or the higher self, okay, is your guru. And you can embody any goddess, let's say like Tara or Kali, or incidentally I have a Kali shirt on today, I love it, it's very erotic. Kali or Sundari, or any number of the goddesses you can embody and you can call, or the gods, Shiva, Indra. Indra was Shiva before Shiva, okay? It kind of evolved from Indra to Shiva. Indra is the original thunder god, and Vajra is his consort, which is the thunderbolt. There's actually a piece of equipment, or a wand of sorts, that is called a Vajra, and it's a thunder wand, a thunderbolt wand. They're beautiful. They're very ornate, and they have almost like claws on the end, enclosed. It's kind of hard to describe. Go look it up. You'll see. So all these things, probably it would be best. Now, see, this is my discipline. I'm not saying that you got to be, do this same discipline. I'm just imparting techniques and secrets to you that have come to me through the years and have allowed me to transcend the mundane and actually do things like do remote viewing, and it heightens your intuition and, let's say, your senses to the point where you're way beyond the normal senses, touch and hearing and all that stuff. You're kind of acquiring new methods of thinking and traveling, and say you wanted to go around the world and you wanted to view a certain island, you can do remote viewing. All kinds of powers come to you. You can hook up with somebody that is around the world or across on the other side of it, from the west coast to the east coast. You can hook up with that person's energy, because there really is no such thing as distance. So what these techniques are doing is they're helping you to acquire certain powers, and these powers are not something that you would ever think about using in a bad way or using in a harmful way, because in the first place they wouldn't even be given to you if you did that. And the higher consciousness knows exactly what you're going to do before you do it. So at some point you start receiving, and there's a name for that, Siddhic powers or Siddhic powers, however you want to pronounce it, in the Hindu tradition. And those have been used in the past by certain gurus for flash and bang, I mean, to thrill people, and for the wrong reasons. I can think of a particular guru. And not that I'm judging anybody, because, hey, if they're doing something for a reason, I might not know what that reason is. I might not know. You use your powers in ways that seem appropriate to you for your consciousness at the time, So I just thought that I would just kind of dive into this thing. I'm totally one way or the other. I think I did a video yesterday that I haven't even posted yet. I don't know when it's in this room too, only it's real dark, and I'm talking about gathering intel and relating that to on any level. Okay. It's best to gather intel, and then when you get the intel, make a choice as to what you want to do with that intel, or whether you want to pass it on. So this is a form of intel. It's a form of spiritual intel. There's other kinds of intel, which I talk about in my other videos, where you're just learning about what's going on in the world around you, bypassing the mainstream media. But that's a whole nother subject. But this is a form of intel as well, because it's intelligence that's gathered through years of spiritual practice. I got to the point where I went totally outside the bounds of accepted procedures with the different spiritual practices, because as a drummer and an innovator and a jazz drummer and an improviser, I would say more of an improviser, you improvise, you gather all the different techniques together, the spiritual techniques, and you create your own style. Your style might not be like anybody else's style. It might be very shamanistic, okay? Your style is unique to you. But in order to create a style, you have to learn the basics. You have to learn the rudiments. You have to learn the how-to, and, Just like in the asanas with yoga, you acquire them through careful deliberation and practicing a little bit and stretching. You don't want to overdo anything either. If you start off and you're kind of bound up or something, and your muscles are a little bit atrophied, you take it slow. You take it slow and you move slow, and then again you allow spirit to guide you into different positions until at some point you're going to be doing them perfectly. Headstands, shoulder stands, the bridge, the child's pose, the dog pose, the turtle, there's all kinds of names for these poses, okay? But you at some point will be doing them, and I don't claim to be a super authority on all the asanas and all the Hatha yoga postures. I created my own style by embracing those particular asanas that appealed to me and were meant for me, and then looking at some more. I always have an open mind. I'm always going, wow, that's a different one. Somebody will spring something on me, one of these young ladies on the yoga channel, and I'll go, there's no way I can do that. And the next time I go to the mat, I try to do it in a gentle way, and I find that if I try each time, it gets easier and easier, and the next thing you know, you're doing it, okay? So basically what it is a tuning up of the organism and a tuning of the vehicle from a higher source. You're connecting to a battery and a consciousness and an Akashic record, if you want to call it that knows everything. It knows everything. It's the great teacher. It's the great guru. It's the great consciousness. And that consciousness is the goddess energy, and it is the Shiva energy. It's all those energies in a kind of a hierarchical stance or whatever, the hierarchy. Doesn't mean that one's better than another, because actually, just because Shiva's God doesn't mean that if he didn't have Shakti, he could do shit. I mean, putting it bluntly, you have to have that movement. You could sit there all day and be still and emanate, but in order for things to happen, you need the movement, and the movement is Shakti. It's the Shakti energy. It's the movement. And that's what the asanas are in yoga. Okay, it's the movement. It's going from one asana to the next. It's the Shakti energy, really, to put it bluntly. It has to be, because it's too flexible, too lithesome, too cat-like, too yin for it to be anything else. There's always a yang component, don't get me wrong. That has to be in there as well. The tension would probably be the yang, and the relaxation would be the yin. You do tense up, you do breathe, you do stretch. But I would compare Hatha yoga to more like isometric exercises. You don't need barbells. You don't need anything outside yourself. You might need a pillow, a little meditation pillow, or a block to do certain things. But even if you're, getting on in years, it doesn't really matter, because I walked into this really surprised me. This was quite a few years ago, and I was in Flagstaff, Arizona, and I walked upstairs. I was looking for something. Can't remember what it was. And as I walked up in this old red brick building in the ancient part, the old town of Flagstaff, there was a sign on the door down the hallway, and it said yoga class. Well, I figured I'd walk in there and ask them whatever I was trying to find something or get directions or something. And I walked into the class, and this woman opened the door, and she had to been, I'd say, 50, close to it. And she was hot. Let's just put it that way. She had a body on her like you would not believe. It was toned, it was fine. Now, of course, her face looked a little aged, but she had this beautiful gray hair, and she was in this exquisite vehicle, let's say. And I was taken back. I was like, this is awesome. And then I looked around the class, and I saw a whole bunch of other people. So basically, this type of exercise and this type of mindset can take you anywhere you want to go. In this realm, it can actually youth you. Okay. In fact, I don't think there's a reason. I think scientists found out a long time ago that there's some kind of gene in the DNA. There's something in the DNA ain't supposed to be there, and it's the aging gene. It's what ages you, and who the hell knows where that got implanted. Could have been from the Archons in the very beginning. It could have been in the Sumerian. It could have been when the stories of Enki and Enlil and the DNA modification to keep people from living forever. Hell, people used to live to be 900, 1,000 years old. You got accounts of that, okay? So I hope that, me talking about this and imparting this knowledge to you will help you incorporate that into your immortality exercises. Let's call them that. Think about the things I said. If you have any questions, you can either write me on the email in the show notes, or you can, and then I'll even talk to you on the phone if it's appropriate. And if you just leave a comment if you have questions. I'll be glad to try to answer them. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So today, instead of saying adios, I'll say namaste.